Testing, testing. We are here live, full effect, now in color, using an 8K effect. This is Oktane Minutes Podcast, a podcast where I talk to hear myself talk. Brought to you by the White Tiger Wars. And if it don't have the tiger on it, and it's not in the thing because it's in the deck, but if it doesn't have the white tiger on it, it is not official. It is a story of a harrowing tale of a gangster's rise to power, his eventual downfall, and his escape to the Caribbean. The story itself is self-explanatory, so I don't have to talk about the songs. Brought to you by Saba Sun Media, because we do all sorts of things, and this is part of that IPO, Oktane Minutes Podcast. Branding. Today, the songs we are brought to you by Tycoon, produced by me, and I want to say scratches by DJ Creative. If he's on here, I don't know. Anyway, I should know. I think he's on here. Anyway, so we are wrapping up. This is song 15 of the 16-week extravaganza. And after that will be Bold and Beautiful featuring the new 9-3, and then it will be an omnibus, probably an audio omnibus. But today I wanted to do a review. Someone said they liked my reviews. I did a video game review last time. It was of Dead Stranding, but I want to review everything. Eventually, I'm still working through the book Bacchus, volumes 1 and 2, and we will definitely soon get into that. The audio version, you will hear the songs from Tycoon, and you'll see some improvements to the production value at one point or another as I do this. But right now, we just going raw out the gate. But I'm doing a new movie review because, like I said, it is a random cause of effects. So we're going to do a rundown of a thing. I'm covering the movie, speaking of, Prince's 1991, I wouldn't say classic. I'm being nice. Not a classic movie. Sequel to Purple Rain called Graffiti Bridge. Weird movie, very weird movie. Written and directed by Prince Roger Nelson himself. I'm gonna be reviewing just a lot of things. I'm just gonna be jumping around at random. Sometimes it's books, sometimes it'll be a video game, sometimes it'll be a TV series. Some reviews will just take longer to do because I got to take it all in. So the movie. Let me go through some things on Graffiti Bridge, and I will give you whatchamacallit. This is New Power Generation Prince, by the way. New Power Generation MPG. At this time in 1991, this was the in between. This is the band after the Revolution, right? And then when Prince passed away, he had a group called Third Eye Girl. But for the New Power Generation, he's got a lot of people. Remember, Prince was a very finicky person. For those of you who watch this in the future and that are younger and come across this old review, right now it's fresh, but by the time you probably get to it, for some of you people who, at the time that I record this, are not allowed to be on YouTube, and you're just bored of seeing a guy talk about things, we will say at the time for Prince in the 90s, he had basically, the New Power Generation was kind of like when he was kind of getting ready to be at odds with his record label at Warner. And I think he was either wanting out of his contract, and he was wanting control of his masters, and he fought for his masters for a long time. he said he had this long speech about if you're going to be a baker, let a baker bake bread. And Prince's whole thing was that, look, I'm a creative. I can't turn this stuff off. I have to get it out. And if you won't let me release albums, just let me go. I can be independent and I can just drop whenever I want. And it got to a point to where they were giving him leeway. They were giving him so much leeway. And I felt that maybe he was being a little unreasonable, in my opinion, for the way record deals were set up in the 1990s. They let him get away with a lot of stuff that other artists didn't get away with. But at the same time, I understand their settlement. Even though I don't agree with what they did. If he wants to be creative, let him release records, you know what I'm saying? Or let him be independent. But at the same time, Prince made so much money. And I know that all the other label acts, especially a lot of the bigger acts that was on Warner Brothers at the time, if they bent for Prince, then a lot of other acts says, well, if you're giving Prince that type of money, you give me that type of money, or so I'm not re-signing. You letting Prince have this type of creative freedom, give me this type of creative freedom, I won't resign. So on and so forth. They allow Prince to have a separate independent label for his other acts, and he was even dropping albums on New Power Generation that competed against, the Warner Brothers stuff. So, mind you, Prince was a very, very creative person. He kind of knew his aesthetic. He knew his lane. He knew what he wanted to write. And even when he did write, if you go on, I want to say there's another YouTube channel on here, and I will upon putting this on YouTube, I will plug that other channel, and you can go and listen to all the Prince stories, because like I said, the rumor was he had his whole complex compound wired to be a record. Everything was a recording studio. He could plug in anywhere, log on, and get busy. And so, Prince basically had a setup to where he can just lay down ideas constantly and feed it into a mother system, and then he just go and build and finish songs as they go. And sometimes he knocks songs out, one song a night, or he'll book a whole studio session. I might go long. I'm gonna go long because Prince is Prince, and people know about Prince, and I will speak on him. It's just that we'll get to the movie, but I just want to give you some background noise, or some background on what Prince is, if you are not familiar with Prince, the royal badness. So, he was making so much songs. His engineer was a lady named Susan Rogers, Dr. Susan Rogers. She told him to get a vault and say, hey, we can categorize and we can catalog everything and keep track of stuff, and you don't have to scramble for things and tapes. If you have this vault, you can pretty much piece things together. So there's a lot of songs that Prince's estate kind of releases, and they did release a demo album recently, a couple years ago. Basically, it's like a reverse cover, because there's all these songs that he wrote and created demos for, The Time and Vanity 6 and Sinead O'Connor, like all the other people that he wrote for and gave songs to. He basically made them full. These songs were already full-fledged productions. All you had to do was just sing along to Prince, and then you let him produce you, and just kind of like, okay, sing it like this, I laid it out, just follow me, and then I'll take my voice off, and then you just ride on the production. So what I'm saying, he kind of had the blueprint to get songs going, Manic Monday, stuff like that. So anyway, information on Graffiti Bridge, because I like to keep the minutes concise, because it's called Oktane Minutes, not Oktane for 5 hours. Heavy Mahes. Shout out to Heavy Mahes. So I am going through Graffiti Bridge. I'm going to go to the Wikipedia and I'm going to read some stuff. So, you don't know that I am religious. You don't think that I'm illiterate. Yeah. It's late at the time you're getting this. So, 1990. America is an American rock drama film directed, written, and starring Prince in his third and final major theatrical film role, because in between Purple Rain, there was another one called Underneath the Cherry Moon, which was a beautiful movie. I think was probably... of course, Purple Rain was the best of the Prince movies, and then, as he made them, they kind of like degraded down and degraded down in quality and skillmanship or whatever. Graffiti Bridge was a sequel. At least two of the major characters. It was a sequel to Purple Rain. Whereas Purple Rain was a more incomprehensive, because I'm reviewing Graffiti Bridge. Purple Rain was a more comprehensive world of Minnesota. It was a greater world of the club scene in Minnesota. Graffiti Bridge was a weird, art film. Looked like it was shot on a soundstage. A friend of mine said that Cherry Moon was on a soundstage, but I don't know. I just think that they shot it in France. But like I said, we got IMDb here, and we also got, and I can go back, and I might go back and cover some stuff. And you know what? If we go long, we go long. I'm already 11 minutes in, and it's whatever, man. It's Prince. We can give him extra minutes. So, okay. So basically, I'm paraphrasing off the plot. The plot continues with the kid living in a future life as an upbeat performer and co-owner of the club Glam Slam. So I guess he dropped the album Glam Gangster, which was willed to him from Billy, the owner of the First Avenue Club in the first film. So Billy was the guy, the big fat guy, and with the cool glasses and the sweatsuit in Purple Rain. Solitary, lovelorn, he spends his personal time composing songs and writing letters to his deceased father. Played by the guy who was the devil in Tales from the Hood. And also he was the dope fiend father in Sugar Hill. The other co-owner who was included in the will was Morris Day. So the kid in Morris Day, who was in the movie, he played he was a cooler version of himself in Purple Rain. This one he was real silly. He was a silly dude. He was like Morris Day back in his day. He had this baby face with a perm, not like a conk out, light skin, high yellow. It was high yellow baby face, a high yellow baby face off musical. So his rival now also owns a club called Pandemonium, while desiring the control of two other clubs in the Seven Corners area, which are Melody Cool and the Clinton Club. Clinton Club is also George Clinton, legendary George Clinton, and he had a song in the movie. Needing to pay the mayor of Seven Corners $10,000, Morris attempts to extort the kid by threatening to take full ownership of Glam Slam. Making matters more interesting is the arrival of Aura. So yeah, it kind of gave the it didn't say that the lady was an angel, and I think that Prince was trying to have that artistic. He was trying to take an artistic license to depict someone that was an angel, and I guess it worked because she would disappear and reappear in places. She would disappear into the fine mist and and then carry a feather around, right? And I think that was a good choice for the actor, the actress. By the arrival of Aura, an angel sent from heaven to sway both Morris and Kid to lead a more righteous life. And this may be the time when he wrote this. He was probably dealing with the guy from Graham Funk State Railroad or whatever. I don't know. Larry Graham, Drake's uncle, something like that. The uncle of Aubrey Graham. Anyway, he wanted them to lead righteous lives, and dealing with their attraction to her, the kid continues to resist him. Morris begins to embarrass him via performances with his band to steal the kid's performance. Steal the performers. Losing clientele and having his club defamed by Morris's henchmen, the kid decides to challenge Morris to a musical battle in the ownership of Glam Slam. So, yeah, it's like this angel lady who was doing poems, and I guess, I don't know, it kind of lost the plot because she was going on, this was supposed to be a divine entity. Instead of just kind of delivering the message, she was going on dates with Morris and putting cootie cat on Prince, and Prince was sprung, and Prince was like, yo, you my woman? And she was like, no, I belong to Jesus. And I was just like, dang, that's kind of a like disconnect. If you're gonna be holy, but you're gonna be a real woman with, I don't know, it's just whatever. The aesthetic was kind of off anyway. There should have been more of an open world there, but everything focused on these clubs, and it looked like it was done on an MGM soundstage, like a West Side Story or whatever. So basically, it was like a movie that was like a giant glorified music video, which ain't nothing wrong with that, But it's just it was a plot that was direct driven. It was just a singularity plot. It was just straightforward. Boom. We're fighting for a club, and there's a woman. We're fighting for a woman too, but the woman never depicted as an angel. And it was cool. I watch it because it's Prince. Had it been anybody other that was in music, you kind of be like, yeah, this movie sucks. It's not a good movie. It's just their movie. Because you watch it because you was just like, well, I hadn't seen it. Even the music was not great for that movie. It wasn't great for what Prince did. Prince has slammed. He's had a lot of good slam dunks in his time. This was a brick, kind of. And I guess this was the reason why it was his last movie that he made. Because he probably put it out and was just like, this kind of sucks. I'm going to go and start trying to make more music, But he did make a soundtrack. So, the cast, who was cool. Of course, Prince, the kid, the owner of Glam Slam, and Morris Day, the co-owner of Glam Slam and the Pandemonium. So, Morris Day co-owned he co-owned a club and then owned half of Prince's club, and they were fighting over Prince's club. Jerome as the assistant. Shout out to Jerome. Jerome was a good sidekick with Prince and the Cherry Moon. The Time played as themselves. Jill Jones played as the kid's girlfriend. Mavis Staples as Melody Cool, the owner of the Melody Cool Club. And George Clinton, the Atomic Dog, as George, the owner of the Clinton Club. Not very deep and introspective here. Tevin Campbell was out here, and I guess Tevin Campbell's mama in the movie was just like, yeah, my baby gonna perform. There was a guy who wanted to rap, and I don't know, man. I don't think trying to rap for Prince was gonna help you out. You over there wearing, you didn't have rapper aesthetics. And that was kind of weird. That was kind of off. And then, Tevin Campbell had the song Round and Round. Very talented young man for his time. But then, you kind of knew, even when you looked at baby Tevin Campbell, you kind of knew what was up with him. You know what I mean? And it didn't matter how hard he tried. Can We Talk and Babyface fed him a lot of alley-oops, and then he was Powerline from the Goof Troop with the suit, which was cool. Everybody knows Tevin Campbell as Powerline or Powermind or Powerline. Then, on a side note of Tevin Campbell, he also had the song "Come Back to My World," and he had the little crisscross bob going, little braids. He looked like Maxine from Living Single. Even with braids, man, they tried to masculinize him, man. He just wasn't there. He just wasn't there. He wasn't quite like Billy Porter levels, but But shout out to him. Billy Porter was talented too, but Billy Porter is no Tevin Campbell. Tevin Campbell is about as talented as a lot of them get. As singers, you know what I'm saying? A lot of singers get. Matter of fact, I think out of all the I think he's probably one of the most talented black gay singers in R&B. Because who else? Danny Boy? Well, no, you know what? No, Luther Vandross never said anything publicly, so some people just said it that he was after he's passed, and he's never said it himself. So I guess, yeah. So the 1 and the 2 is Tevin Campbell and Luther Vandross. And of course, I think Luther has the edge on Tevin Campbell. But Tevin Campbell, like I said, he's a very close second in talent and singing and stuff. It's just that I think Luther Vandross had a more stellar top tier career, even up until the day he had the stroke and the heart attack, so on and so on, and eventually passing away. He was still on top of his game even when he got sick, So, of course, Luther Vandross is number 1. But yeah, they were trying to fight for a club, and it was very transatlantic. Like they were trying to. It almost felt like they were trying to make Prince was trying to make a movie that was like a throwback to the 40s, 30s, and 40s. He was just trying to throw out and create an MGM style movie. To me. So it was like I said, the plot wasn't super complex. Not that it had to be, but they could have been some more layers. I think Prince could have added some more layers, and I think he should have worked with a professional writer and maybe had someone help him formulate ideas. Just because you have talent doesn't mean you necessarily have a talent. Sometimes talent is raw and untapped, and but then sometimes it's okay to be produced with your talent, being produced through another set of eyes to where they can see and kind of work the governance of your creativity in a different way, or put a different type of governance on your creativity from a different perspective. Just my humble opinion. But all in all, not a super shitty movie, but also not a great movie, or not even a good movie by any chance. It was, it would have been a good cheesy straight to DVD movie or straight to video movie if it were the time that it did come out. 'Cause I'm pretty sure it did have a theatrical release. One thing we can give props to that was A1 in the movie was Prince's press and curl. That press perm he had that was laid, fried, dyed, and laid down to his shoulders like an old PI. You know what I'm saying? The hair was immaculate, as always, Prince had. So Prince had immaculate hair. Morris Day had immaculate hair. The women were fine. And, I'll say this. As far as the new Power Generation, the Power Generation members, underrated, fine. A woman that was underratedly hot was Rosie Gaines. in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, she was a little thick, but in the 90s didn't really respect thick girls yet. But Rosie Gaines was beautiful in 1991. Oh my goodness. You know, she was the right type of light skin, you know what I'm saying? She was high yellow with the dread. She was a little boho, and I love me a boho, a bohemian black woman, and I love me a goth black woman. You know, those are my favorite types of black women. If you're a goth woman, if you're a goth black or a boho woman, you are the woman for me. Matter of fact, I would say, you know, I would put them 1 and 2. I would say black goth, black bohemian 2, and Malaysian. But those are off tracks, and I do love my Malaysians. Shout out! I love all women, but yeah, you know, those three genres, and specifically for femininity, is what I like for myself. I'm a fan of black goth women and bohemian black women. You know, crystals and dreadlocks and hotep this, hotep that. I love those. I love y'all. Anyway, I've gone almost 30 minutes jabberjacking about Prince's Graffiti Bridge, starring Prince, Morris Day, Mavis Staples, Ingrid Chavez, that's who was the angel, Tevin Campbell, Rosie Gaines, her fine ass, and Elise Florillo, that was the unaccredited singing voice. So, you know, we're not going to cover the soundtrack, but the soundtrack had different acts on it that Prince wrote all the songs. I don't know how that man stayed awake. But anyway, shout out to that brother. Rest in peace to him. We love you, Prince. Your royal badness. I just thought your movie kind of sucked, but we respect you because you're Prince and you made the movie. So, and I probably would have done just as shitty. So, shout out to the Saba Sun family. You are listening to the song Tycoon. And I will see you next time down the road, cowboy. Peace. Empirical data, pockets be fatter, bigger and badder, scanning for chatter. Who be talking, seeing who's stalking, what does it matter? Some of the fears, my game is fierce. These bullets they pierce, they hot and smoking. No names, no paper, no game, all vapor. Escape with capers, the sights with lasers, aim to blaze ya. Pop, pop, shots, top 10, pop charts. Gotta step the bars up, but I gotta get locked, not to trying to get caught. Quote for the knots. Scheme on the boat, that's the future. Gangsters, don't quote me. The other options bleaker. Either seance or cell blocks. Love notes for when I get out. I move about, probably further down south. Somewhere southwest. It doesn't matter, it's a flex as long as I be fresh. Everything's a test. Scars and stripe is distress. All hype to be the press, but only to be the best. Data, pockets be fatter, bigger and badder, scanning for chatter. Who be talking, seeing who's stalking, what does it matter? Some of the fears, my game is fierce. These bullets they pierce, they hot and smoking. No names, no paper, no game, all vapor. Escape with capers, the sights with lasers, aim to blaze ya. Pop, pop, shots, top 10, pop chops. Gotta step the bars up, but I gotta get locked, not to trying to get caught. Quote for the knots. Scheme on the boat, that's the future. Gangsters, don't quote me. The other options bleaker, either seance or cell blocks. Love notes for when I get out. I move about, probably further down south, somewhere southwest. It doesn't matter, it's a flex as long as I be fresh. Everything's a test, scars and stripe is the stress. All hype to be the press, but only to be the best.